County Kildare, and Chuck to Durkan.
Thank you, Cahilig, and I thank the Count Corla and his office for affording this further opportunity to raise the issue of the development of the town centre in Naas, County Kildare, which has been stalled for about 10 years now. And in fact, suffice it to say that many gallons of water have passed under many bridges since I first raised the issue with the House. And initially I was told, we were at a stage where it was about to be resolved. And I know a great deal of work has been done on that issue with a view to bringing it to a conclusion. And the reason that it has taken up so much of our time is because it was a landmark site in the centre of the town. And for many, many years of the 10 years in question, we had 2 cranes hanging over the town like 2 albatrosses waiting for something to happen. Fortunately and thankfully, the cranes were removed in the last few months, and at least that part of the problem is gone. That constant reminder of what needs to be done is now gone. And I know that work is going on all the time. A considerable amount of work is going on all the time, and I know that all public representatives have tried to ensure that the matter is expedited. And the Minister responsible for State here tonight, I would ask him, hopefully he has some more information to give us. I am told that there is information available locally. I know that I have been involved myself in attempting to push the issue further along and to bring it to a position whereby we can say, as we approach a new year, that at last we've put that behind us, and that we can open the new year and welcome the new year on the grounds that we have turned a new leaf and that we can see progress taking place, which could and should take place fairly rapidly. So I would say simply this: I thank the Minister for coming into the House tonight to reply from the responsible department. I would hope that the niggling issues, the outstanding issues like rights of way and way leaves have been resolved, or if they haven't been resolved, and arbitration, and if they haven't been resolved at this stage, they should be. And there's absolutely no excuse whatsoever for somebody attempting to tell me that maybe in 6 or 8 months' time that we're still waiting for a resolution in that area, and maybe the property in question should be sold on with a flawed title. No is the answer to that. I believe that enough time has passed, and enough interest has been expressed in the issue to facilitate a happy conclusion, satisfactory conclusion, and a hopeful turn as we wait the new year.
And again, I want to thank Deputy Bernard Durkan for raising this issue. And in fairness to Deputy Durkan, he's repeatedly raised this issue over the last couple of years in this House, and rightly so, because it's a very, very important issue that we see the Naas Town Centre development moved on. And Naas Town Centre is a vital piece of infrastructure serving the region. I think it's important that we do have a very, very attractive town that's well functioned and be able to provide the service it can to the growing population in the area. But again, I recognise Deputy Durkan's drive and eagerness and efforts to see this long-standing issue relating to the town centre development being brought to a satisfactory resolution, because it's been repeatedly, both here formally but also in meetings with myself and other officials and other ministers, constantly pushing this and raising this and probably taking the leading role in having it resolved. So I recognise that too, and I understand we're here probably for the third or fourth time in a formal capacity to discuss this as well. However, as I've mentioned in previous debates on the issue, the management of the stalled development is a matter mainly for Kildare County Council in the first instance, and certainly my department officials have been in a supporting role in that too, and have helped where called upon, trying to help resolve this too. Furthermore, with processes underway involving both NAMA and arbitration, it would be entirely inappropriate for either the Minister for Housing, Planning, Local Government or myself as a junior minister to become involved directly in this issue. It would not be appropriate that any minister in the department with responsibility for planning matters to make representation on this issue. I think, as Deputy Durkan understands as well, under Section 30 of the Planning and Development Act, the minister is precluded from exercising any power or control in relation to any particular case with which a planning authority or an board is or may be involved, except in a very specific and extreme circumstances which do not apply in this case, as Kildare County Council are trying to work through this. The Deputy is well aware that the hearing of evidence in the High Court in regard to a land title issue on Corbyn's Lane, which adjoins the proposed town centre, was completed earlier this year, and that the relevant judgment is now awaited. Consequently, the arbitration hearing on the concerned land cannot recommence until the High Court land title case is resolved. Nevertheless, I am informed that Kildare County Council continues to engage in advanced discussions with NAMA and the receivers in an attempt to ensure that a satisfactory sale of the site in question will come about. In this regard, the Council has confirmed that it will brief all relevant Oireachtas and municipal district members as soon as there is progress to report, and hopefully that will be very soon. As has been outlined to the House in previous parliamentary debates on this topic, subject to a satisfactory planning approval, there is no impediment to the appropriate development of the site once the legal issues have been resolved. The Kildare County Council fully acknowledges and recognises the strategic importance of the site in the heart of Naas town and continues to support and work in partnership with any stakeholders involved in this site, and it's right that they take that leading role. During the past couple of years, the Council has initiated and supported a number of projects with the strategic objective of ensuring that the social and economic development of Naas is protected and enhanced. This work is underpinned by the work of the Naas Roads and Transport Steering Group, the Oireachtas Group and the Naas Regeneration Group. Kildare County Council has also received approval from the National Transport Authority to prepare a traffic management study for Naas, which will form one element of a strategic social and economic plan for Naas and will be instrumental in ensuring good access to the town centre development when it is eventually progressed and completed. And again, hopefully that will be very soon. While I know that Deputy Durkan is completely and utterly frustrated by the length of time that it has taken to get this matter resolved arising from the various High Court and arbitration deliberations, I can assure him that the local authority is doing all it can within the parameters of its role and having regard to the difficult circumstances faced. In this connection, we must recognise that the due processes that are necessary in relation to the receivership, etc. But I am very hopeful that the relevant issues will be resolved in due course to facilitate the completion of the strategic Naas town centre site.
Thank you, Minister, and I welcome your hopeful response. The only thing that worries me a little bit, is this, that one can live horse and get grass in a lot of these situations. We have done this before. And while there was a major issue was to get an anchor tenant to suit the location, a lot of work has been done on that, and hopefully that has concluded satisfactorily at this stage. It should be. I am a little concerned that we are still two outstanding matters, one in relation to the arbitration and one in relation to the High Court, and how one can affect the other. And the only thing I say in relation to that is simply this. It is very frustrating to find that, after 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, that we can still be addressing the issue that was a kernel to the problem initially. And it's no harm to point out that Naas was and is a very busy trading town, drawing in a population from a wide catchment area, and is an important trading town in the province of Leinster. And I know the Minister is aware of this, as all other towns. It is a huge blow to any town to have a derelict site or a semi-derelict site right in the middle of it, because it gives off a bad image, a bad impression. It automatically raises the question, why isn't something happening about this? And I raise this question, and I know that the Minister is conscious of the fact that it's time to do something about it. So I raise it once again at this particular stage in the sincere hope that we don't have to come back to this issue anytime soon, that there will be some breakthrough, and that as a result of that breakthrough we will see action, and that at long last the issue that has damned the area for so long that will be resolved. And I would certainly like to say at this in conclusion, I cannot understand for the life of me why issues of that nature hold up a major development for so long. I can't understand why that should be, and we need, I believe, some legislative changes to ensure that those kind of things do not happen in the future. They don't happen anywhere else, and they shouldn't happen in this country. Notwithstanding that, Minister, I am hopeful that what you have suggested, said tonight, will bear fruit in the very near future.
The final word.
Again, I want to acknowledge and to fully accept Deputy Bernard Durkan's desire that this long-running matter, which is an extremely unfortunate legacy of our recent economic recession and is impacting on the further development of Naas, should be progressed and completed as soon as practically possible, so that the ever-expanding town of Naas can achieve its full potential. And under Project 2040, we have set out a high ambition for Naas. I know Kildare Local Authority and certainly Deputy Durkan have ambitions for Naas as well, and we want it to be able to achieve that. Naas is a very important urban settlement in the context of the Greater Dublin area, and as such has been identified as a key town in the draft regional strategy for the Eastern and Midland Regional Assembly area. As I indicated earlier, it would be inappropriate for Minister Murphy or I, indeed Minister, in the Department to become involved or make any further comment on the town centre development while a number of processes are ongoing. In any event, as I have already outlined, the law precludes us from becoming involved in specific planning cases. But with regard to the specifics of the arbitration process, I do not have a role in this either. As Deputy Durkan is aware, when state authority compulsorily acquires land for public purposes and there is a dispute between the vendor and the purchaser regarding the amount of compensation which should be paid, the vendor can apply to the Land Values Reference Committee for the appointment of a property arbitrator to attribute on the amount to be paid. Property arbitrators are appointed under the Property Values Arbitration and Appeals Act 1960 by the Land Values Reference Committee, and all property arbitrations are required by law to be held in public. The appointment of property arbitrators is a matter for the Land Values Reference Committee. However, I do understand the frustration of Deputy Durkan regarding the arbitration-related delays that have been encountered with this project. Finally, I would reiterate that Kildare County Council continues to engage in advanced discussions with NAMA and the receiver in an attempt to secure a satisfactory sale of the site in question, and I am very, very hopeful that there will be a speedy and positive resolution of the issue in the near future once the outstanding legal issues have been finally resolved. And again, Deputy Durkan is right, we don't want to have derelict sites, and certainly don't have very prominent derelict sites like this, because they don't help drive any town forward, and they do serve to remind us of the past that most people want to move on from, even though it was quite recent. But we don't want a dereliction. It brings a lot of other difficulties as well. We do urge, through our department, through engagement with local authorities, through Project 2040, under the different funds of taxpayers' money that we provided there, that local authorities take a lead in tackling dereliction and tackling vacancy, and in many cases it's dereliction of commercial property, retail property, but also when it comes to properties that could be available for housing projects as well. So we are urging this, and we are phoning local authorities to take a very lead role in this too, and I do think in this case Kildare are taking on board that message as well, and it's something that there are various avenues of funding as well to help move that forward. But I think absolutely, and certainly as a Minister for Urban Development, we want to tackle dereliction, and we will strengthen the powers of local authorities to be able to deal with this in many cases too, and we would urge them to continue the leading role, and that's important that we do that as well in the future. Thank you very much.